Then we went to Guanajuato, and it's actually through a program called Mexicanos, where they take people that did the residency that belongs to Cannes Film Festival in Paris. We did it for 4.5 years. They flew all of us here to try to promote our new films that we developed in Paris. So we had all these workshops and special meetings of consultants, and they screen our short films as well. It's about Martha, who is a foreign worker that works for an old lady that never dies, and she wants to escape and be free, like the character she reads of, and she wants to fly like them, but fly away from them. Actually, everywhere I go to, people always react in a very similar way. And everywhere you go, people say, "Oh my God, in my country I have the exact same problem. My father has a foreign worker." I mean, it's a problem that is not only Israeli necessarily. So I think it's always received very well. Also, it's a very visual film, so always people, you need less effort to understand what's happening. It's more of an atmosphere kind of film. You just have to feel the character. I think people enjoy that very much. The Other Widow is a black comedic drama. It's about Ella, which is a 30-year-old mistress that the love of her life dies, and she wants to mourn his death. But because she's a mistress, she goes to the funeral, she goes to the shiva. No one knows who she is, and she has to lie about her identity. And she gets mixed up in all these funny situations, absurd, with his family, his friends, his wife, his brother. And in the end, she comes and she says, he loved me and I loved him, and she comes to demand her legitimate right to mourn the death of the man she loved. And I think it talks about women's liberation from a new angle, because you take the woman that is the weak one, the second option, and she is a strong one, the career woman, and she chose to be there, and she demands, recognition. Martha Must Fly is inspired by a short story by Dylan Thomas called The True Story. And I just really related to the character, her dreaming of flying, her feeling captive, not that I'm captive in any way, but I think I was really interested in expressing that and dealing with that, with the feeling of being smuggled. Just artistically, I was very interested in that. And it's a story that is very relevant today. I mean, there was a law in Israel that they just canceled the law a few years ago, but it said that if a foreign worker comes to Israel, he has to work with that person that he comes for, unless the person either dies or asks to not work with him. So he's stuck with that. But they changed the law, so now it's a better world. But the law still exists in many places in the world. I mean, it's something that still happens. And I was very intrigued in this existential kind of place she was. And in the new one, I'm more interested, I guess, artistically with how do you deal with the absence of a person, with a death? I mean, death is something so radical, so... I think it's very interesting to talk about macabre and to deal with topics that in a funny way, because death is always so fatal and horrible and black. And I think it's interesting to talk about it. I mean, this character can't really find herself, and she can't, this person dies, so she doesn't exist without him, and she's trapped in this place that she doesn't really exist.
You have been in many countries, you have presented your films from Paris to Mexico to Chipre, South America, and many places it has been presented in many festivals. What's the difference in the audience? How do the different audiences take your movie? Because I'm supposed every part says identify what it has to be with that. I don't know.
It's very interesting, actually. I think, first of all, in Mexico, I think the audience that saw it, that understood English and saw it, I think they were very intelligent. They really examined the film, and they really looked took it in and thought about it. And it's a film also that I don't think at the first moment you have many questions. It's kind of like you can watch it 1-2 times and really try to get into it. Every place in the world it was really received differently. Some people got very mad at the film. I mean, why does she kill the lady? Why does she...
Really? It took that?
But many people, but I think it's a good response. I mean, as long as they respond.
Yes. They are not indifferent to the...
For me, it's good. I mean, and many times they will hate it, and then they will contact me somehow and say, actually I thought about it. And I mean, automatically the first response that you just are very mad, I think it means you cared about the character, you cared about the story. In places like China, I guess people reacted a bit differently. They asked questions that were, why was her blood in this leg, and like things that weren't really... But because it's very visual, most people can connect in every language and every place in the world. Also, it's a problem that really appears everywhere in the world. So
China has to be different because it doesn't have, I don't know if they have or not, but that part of free work or about being out or trying to be out of a work. They work and they are in there.
Yeah, they don't really have that experience in China. I don't know, maybe they do, but I think in China it was, in every place they talk about something else. Like in France they will talk a lot about the meaning of the story, the philosophy, the existentialism. In China they will talk about the visual more. In Mexico they ask very good intellectual questions, I think, about... Yeah, actually I worked because I'm a director. What?
You have to live also.
You have to live, and also I want to, of course I want to be a director, but I really want to direct my art or something that I really believe in. I wouldn't go direct something that I don't 100% stand behind. So to make money, because you have to make money, I work as an art director, which is a very big passion that I have, and I actually got to film because I wanted to study art directing.
Yeah.
And I think you can also see it in the films that are very visual.
Yeah.
So after I started, and the next phase, I guess, to earn money or to do something that you love is maybe fashion videos, because it's very visual. And I do it sometimes. I work as an art director or that, but as a director I only direct things I really believe in.
What do you believe in?
I think I'm very interested in more, I don't know, maybe more philosophical questions about where we are in the world. I mean, Martha talks about existentialism, the next one talks about this part in society that no one talks about, the other woman, which they exist all the time, but they're always presented as the bad witches. Or I think it's very interesting to find a place for these people and to express their feelings in the world. I don't know what will be next subject, but I think more social or more human problems. I don't really tend to talk about politics, not that I have a lot to say in politics, but I don't know, I somehow tend to go to more visual, more like from your inner soul kind of place, I guess. You can see in all of the world, I can talk about film, okay? When I travel, I see many Israeli films and festivals, and most of them are very unique because their scripts are so fantastic. I think it's also a budget issue that the script usually has to be, I don't want to disrespect any country, but something about Israel, first of all, we have a lot to talk about and a lot to say, and the scripts are always very, very fine because we will only go shooting when we know that the script is very fine, because we don't have the privilege of taking more extra days to shoot and to figure out the answer.
You're not talking about any other countries that make films just like to make films and spend a
They're
budget.
great. There's great cinema in all of the world, but I think it's also unique to Iranian cinema. I think that something that a very specific point of view, you have to have a very full script in order to go out. I will say it like this: wherever you travel in the world, Israelis are very known in film, dance, music. If you talk about music, so young people today, we brought techno to the world. Like there's a lot of art that comes out of Israel, and it's because people have a lot to say, and people are very educated, and they travel around the world a lot. And I think it's very noticeable when you travel and you meet Israelis and you meet people from other places in the world. And again, I'm not disrespecting, but there's something very unique about Israelis, that they're very open-minded, and they experienced a lot in a very young age. And I think Israelis are, I don't know, I think we have a lot of culture happening, and yes, there is political issues that are very big and define us as human beings, but I think they also make us ask questions and think about where we are and what we want to say and what we want to represent. So we're very unique in that way. There's a lot of arts and a lot of things happening besides this war. I think when you look at the news, you see a lot of bad things that are happening in Israel. And when I live there, yes, of course I read the news there, and it's not easy, but I also see a completely different side. I mean, I go eat hummus in Jaffa, and I sit with Arabs, and I work on set every day with Arabs, and I go to Haifa, and I visit Arab friends, and they're part of my life. I can't see them, and there is a lot of coexistence in Israel. There is a lot of people on both sides that want it to be a better place and a better world, and don't want to fight. And it's just in the news, it's very easy to show problems, but they don't show all the great projects that are happening there, and people that really do want to talk to each other. I mean, we're neighbors. We live at one house next to another. We buy at the same market. The everyday life is very communal, I think. When you go down to the private people's life, there's something very unite. I mean, we live side by side. Not even side, they're within us,
If you have to make a movie about the conflict, about the drama in a conflict, or living in Israel, or living in Gaza, or in another country, what will be the movie about? How it will be the movie for you?
I think there's something about the most interesting conflict, I think, is the Arabs living within Israel, because they're part of the Israeli economics, they're friends with the Jews. I mean, they live a very, yes, they have their religion, their culture, but they have a very Jewish, they're parts of Israel. And I think nowadays they're having a very big conflict because they sympathize with the people in Gaza. And at the same time, they like living in Israel, they feel part of Israel, even as Arabs. So I think they're the most interesting people at the moment for me. But I make cinema about my people, not my people, but I can make cinema about a woman, about around my age. It's very hard for me to make cinema about something that I didn't grow up in. So even if they're my neighbors, it's like I won't direct a film about a man. It's not my story.
If you want to send a message for the world with your films, with all your films, what will it be, that message?
I think just tolerance. I think just people have to be tolerant and accept each other, and it's something that I talk about in my previous film, my new film. It's just tolerance, and not hide behind whoever you are. Come out with your true self and accept each other for your true identity, I guess. I love Mexico. I would love to come back here. I would love to travel all of Mexico. I think it's very rich culturally, and it's very beautiful at the same time, and very down to earth and authentic and unique. And so you see very educated people, and I don't know, it's very beautiful to look at, and it's very magical. Like I can tell you about Guanajuato. I could stay there another months, you know, and just absorb. And every day you see something new I've never seen before, and the colors, and people are really nice.
You don't have to say it, but it's really the best part of the world where you would like to be.
It's a great place.
Thank you, Maayan.
Thank you.